Unless we have found a formula that would work for everybody.
Well, can I just say that there is also a barrier which we need to acknowledge, that even if there are marriage events, there is always this resistance, hesitance in people, maybe subconsciously, but I remember once we went to an event, a marriage event, and we entered the room and there was a massive curtain in the middle. And it was a marriage event where people were supposed to see each other, not in a flirtatious or any bad way. Intention was great, but how can you see somebody from the other side of the curtain? So there is this stigma around it when people go, you know, what do they think of me going for another marriage event?
Hannah, I think people have, nowadays, the more I go to marriage events, the more I realize that culture is being broken down.
Yes, I'm about to say that it is changing, but we have to acknowledge that it is still there. You know, when we organize events for specific, for example, specific nationalities, and some people would not go there because they just don't want to marry from them. You know, there are barriers, but the sad thing for me is that people actually resort to go to other websites, or even through Muslim websites, matrimonial websites, they go into things which are not even allowed.
Illicit relationships in many
because
cases,
yes, and they have no other ways of coping, and they have no other ways of even saying that I'm actually looking for
So
a
what
partner.
I'm suggesting is something bold and brave. And it may not apply to you all because you may have already gone beyond that particular age bracket that I'm going to talk about. We should encourage our youngsters, if we can, to seek partner or marital partner while they're in the university. Second year university, get married. It's going to be hard. Unless we do that, this problem is going to become a crisis. This is my view. And a lot of people don't necessarily agree with it, but that's okay. You don't have to agree with me. We can find a different one. But in absence of a different one, this is the only one I think that is viable. We are saving money for our children. So when they go to university, inshallah, when they're old enough, we would like to give both our children, here is a bit of money, son or the daughter, find somebody, and inshallah get married and settle down. Enough money for you to finish your degree together without worrying about much money coming in. Parents should do that. Our parents didn't do that, so we missed out, I understand. But we need to start thinking about this for later. And while our youngsters, our brothers and sisters, our cousins, nephews, nieces, and friends that we see going to university, encourage them. But in our cases, those of us who are much older, I'm afraid the only answer is go to events and events and events and events, and if not, organize more and more and more.
And that brings up the question of, we have got friends whose children got married when they were 19, 20, and they were very successful marriages because then you take the journey together.
And parents were supportive.
And parents were very supportive, but also because it's much easier to accommodate somebody when you are young than when you are in your later years, and you become more set with your thinking.
Rather than that, question.
I've been married similar to yourself for nearly 10 years, but it's a question more for the younger generation, because I married in Bangladesh. The one question that's common is the younger generation don't know whether to marry here or back home. Now, as they're growing up and the experience of culture, they pick up certain values which they might be attracted to back home, back Bangladesh. And that was similar in my case. If a young person was asking, well, how do I choose? Because there are different challenges depending on where you marry. What would your advice be to that young person?
I would not give that personalized advice for a person in specific. But generally speaking, I encourage people not to go back to their countries of origin and get married. There are too many brothers and too many sisters here looking to get married. It is sociologically, if somebody was asking me, if I was sitting in a fatwa council, and if the imams and everyone was considering what fatwa to give on that sociological problem that we face, I would say, for now, the ijma of the scholars should be that don't go back home and get married again. Which would become binding on the rest of us because there is an ijma amongst the communities. Of course, there isn't one at the moment, I know, and the scholars haven't discussed it. But my strong recommendation is, what are you running away from? The reality is here at home. In your case, alhamdulillah, you know, it's not a problem. But for, I believe, majority cases, it should be here. And some people have a negative psyche, which is what they use. Oh my God, girls should be seen and not heard. British girls, they can only hear them, we can't see them. They have got a big brain, they talk too much, they argue back, they're argumentative. We don't want a girl like that. We want a submissive wife. Let's go back home and find somebody who's submissive. But you know what? In all honesty, you're thinking or you're barking up the wrong tree. And I'll give you an example. A man came to complain to the companion of the Prophet, Umar ibn Khattab, about his wife shouting at him. Constantly. He came, he was about to knock on the door of Umar and he stopped, walked back. Omar was inside and he saw and he came out and he said, what's going on? Why did you come to my house wanting to knock but did knock? Because I came to your house wanting to complain about my wife, who's always shouting at me. I don't know what to do, but as I came nearer to your house, I could hear your wife shouting at you. I got my answer, I'm going home. So, brothers and sisters, shouting or not shouting, communicating or not communicating, is not a monopoly of man or a woman. It's Allah given to everyone. What we are trying to teach people and create better awareness of is how do you manage it. And if you can't manage it here, believe you me, you can't manage it. Human being, wherever they come from. So I believe we should get married here. There are many sisters, ample brothers we should find, and in fact we've got too many waiting to get married. That's in a short, if that is short, answer to that question. Brother there.
Is a man's blessing important in a marriage? For example, say if you found a Christian leader in your home, but your mom's not happy, but you're happy, who's it up to?
In Sharia, there is an important concept, and that is called every one of us should get married with the blessings of our parents. When we use the word blessings of our parents, it's very different than permission of our parents. Permission of our parents isn't necessary. Remember that. But a wali is necessary for a sister, which is not necessary for a brother. Wali isn't necessary for a divorced sister. Wali, I'm just about to explain that. Wali is somebody who is like a guardian. Somebody who gives you away in marriage, especially if you have never been married before. It's a Sharia concept. But that Sharia concept of wali needs to be contextualized. That's the bottom line. But let me come back to the issue of marriage. Allah has given all of us the human right, basic fundamental human right, to choose our partner. It is not our parents' right. That is one right that is ours. Hold on. You, inshallah, come back. Let me just finish this. Our parents don't have the right to choose or impose a person of their choice on us. Girl or boy, it makes no difference. We have the right to choose them. Once we have chosen them, what is the right of our parents? Our right of our parents is to facilitate, to support it. And if they see something seriously wrong in their research, to bring it forward and say, you know what, this boy, this girl, character reference indicates it's not good. Family is really bad, you need to really rethink. And then the onus is on you still. If you still insist on going ahead, the parents should still facilitate it. That's the Islamic version. So if your mother is not happy about a person that you've chosen, if her criteria of displeasure is based on her likes or dislikes, and that is personal, then she has no right to have that likes or dislikes. If her, God, come back.
Is it heaven under the mom's foot?
No, that is not correct Islamic ruling. And this hadith is actually da'if. It's not even a hadith according to majority of the scholars. Heaven does not lie under your mother's feet. It lies in heaven when Allah Azza wa Jalla determines when you get there. We have to be respectful to our parents. Absolutely, you're right. And that nobody can take it away from you. Allah says, وَقَضَى رَبُّكَ أَلَّا تَعْبُدُوا إِلَّا إِيَّهُ وَبِالْوَالِدَيْنِ إِحْسَانًا. And He makes it obligatory upon you to be good, to be loyal to Allah and worship none but Him, and straight after, be good to your parents. بِالْوَالِدَيْنِ إِحْسَانًا. Deal with them in the best way possible. But He doesn't say be obedient necessarily. He doesn't say listen to them unconditionally. He doesn't say sacrifice your life because of them. No. He says be reasonable and demonstrate the best character and best way possible. And He describes it in the same verse in a detailed manner. So I'm saying from the Sharia that I know that the parent's right is to facilitate. Your duty now is to make your mother happy. How can you do that? That's the challenge you have. So you have to go an extra mile. Maybe do more home domestic work to win her over. Maybe prove that this girl is worth your time and her consideration. When I was 16, when I was 14, I came back from my Islamic school after having studied in a Sharia school for 7 years. Decided, moved back in with my parents, and I realized, oh my Lord, I'm going to have a tough time here because everything at home is very different than what I've learned. So I need to do something about it. So I found underneath my mother's pillow a Bengali book that she reads, which is supposed to be an Islamic book. It's called Maqsood al-Mu'min. It's a well-known Bengali book that every Bengali mother reads. Believe it or not, 90% is rubbish. That book contains 90% rubbish, nothing to do with Islam. So I said to my mind, oh my God, my mother has been influenced by this book. I'm all about the Jew. So I said, okay, I'm going to replace her book. So I took her book away and replaced her book with Riyadh al-Salihin, volume 1, under her pillow. So when she came to bed next night, pulled out her book, a different book. Okay, Riyadh al-Salihin, opened up and read. Didn't put it down, she said to me next day, I've read the whole book in one night. What is the second volume? So I gave her 4 volumes, one after the other. Her thinking started changing. So from the age of 14, I realized, unless I do something about my parents, I'm going to have a hell of a time when I'm about to get married. So you need to realize, have you done enough homework with your parents to bring about that change with them?